look a little bit silly there in those last two games. So maybe Hack is going to be able to bounce back here. Maybe it will be Crank's time to shine. Let's go ahead and hop into Belshire Vestige for our first game.
Yeah, I've really seen something like that. Hero in game number 1 looked nothing like the hero that we know and the hero that we love, and then midway game 2 was just like, well, here we go.
Time to play.
That was actually one of the most bizarre things I've ever seen. Mistake after mistake after mistake into flawless play. It's just like, well, normally that's supposed to go with ups and downs, hero. Like, oh, you know, the normal laws just don't go for hero. Anyways, man, should be a really fun series over here in the left top side of Belshire Vestige. We have Axioms, Crank.
And down in the bottom right, Crank's opponent representing Team Startail. And kind of representing Red Bull, where we will be this weekend. It is Hack. Hack needs to bounce back hard. Man, I think Crank looked great in his games against Hyun to start off the day.
He was so close to winning that series, and everything could have been different. Because Crank against Hero in the PvP series, I'm a little bit sad that we didn't get to see that, because I was so impressed with with Crank's PvP in the previous round. Of course, Minigun and Puck, a lot of people immediately say that's not Hero, but I respect them a lot, and I definitely, think they have a very good understanding of PvP. So I would have loved to see Crank go up against Hero, because Hero looked absolutely amazing in his PvP games against Jim. Because I didn't feel that Jim played poorly against Hero at all. I just felt it was Hero being Hero.
We talked about how Crank is pretty strong once he gets up to 3-4 bases. I do not doubt that we'll see him trying to play for that rather than doing anything crazy aggressive off of 2 base, for instance. Hack is gasless, so he is very clearly going to be going 1 racks fast expand into Lord only knows what. Probably a very biocentric play. That's what he tried to do against Hero earlier.
I don't think there's a single Axiom player confirmed yet for Toronto. Is that correct? I mean, Hart can make it, and there is a very good shot that he's going to make it, but he's not there yet. I don't think any of the other guys qualify.
Young has not.
No, and Alicia neither. And neither did their latest recruit. So, if Crank makes it to the round of 8, that's a very realistic that we're at least going to see one of the Axiom guys in Canada. Either way, it will be exciting. So far, we have 9 Koreans and Vortex. The Spanish hero.
Yeah. And maybe we'll see a Naniwa. Maybe we'll see a Huck.
No,
not in Canada.
No, I'm talking about Toronto, man.
Not in Canada.
Relax, hold your horses. If Vortex does extremely well in Canada, Vortex could still make it to BlizzCon. It's a long shot, but it's definitely not impossible. Either way, we are going to focus on this game for now. Crank took his second assimilator after he dropped the Nexus. He didn't probe scout, so this is going to be his very first scout. I think that's a little bit risky against a player like Hack. It wouldn't be the first time that he proxies a barrack somewhere, but fortunately for Crank, he's not going to do that here. Then again, like doing that online in a round of 32 match is probably just... It's something you probably do a lot quicker than you do it offline. When you flew all the way to America, you're going to feel so silly when you do a strategy like that and it just doesn't work out. It's like, you often forget that these players actually flew halfway around the world to compete in this tournament, and it all comes down to 2 best of 3s, which can be amazing if you win it because you're gonna ride that momentum for days. But the moment you lose, it's devastating. Being a pro gamer is amazing, but it's so hard on your mindset as well. It's actually insane. It sounds like the best job in the world, and it can be, and it should be, but
it's tough, man. It's
can
very,
be very,
tough
very
in an
tough.
emerging industry. If you're making $100,000 salary, then it's awesome. You travel, you play. Sometimes you win, sometimes you don't. Most of these guys don't make that kind of money in terms of salary, and they have to rely on their winnings. And it can hurt, man, to travel halfway around the world and walk away with not so much.
You know when it stops hurting, man? When you get acceptance. On a certain moment, I just accepted it. When I was traveling, I wasn't gonna win. It was a sad moment in my gaming career, but I did enjoy all the beautiful cities I visited. We have a couple of Marines marching across the maps, but Crank should be more than fine. He should be able to cast the force field. There we go. Photon Overcharge picks up 1 Marine immediately, and by the time that the rest of Photon Overcharge run out, or even this force field, do you think all these Marines could sneak by on the edge?
Stalker's a little late. Mothership Core is going to come forward, but this will cost Crank at least a sentry. Now a probe.
No, don't lose the Mothership Core though. That would be an expensive loss.
So suddenly...
Wow, what would look like a harmless little Marine hit squad actually turned into a very effective hit squad. There are a few more Marines running across the map. They're like, hey, I heard our friends are doing pretty good on the other side.
Picked off the mothership core, so that means no more photon overcharge, no time warp, no nothing.
14 armies fly against 5. He has to be so careful. I'm not sure if there's concussive shells. I don't think there is. No, there is none yet. But still, Stalkers have to be careful. And Sentry's not going to help out that much either. There's almost no DPS in this unit. While Crank is also playing Hero Strat, the 1-gate Robo into Robo Bay. This is tough, man, without a robotics facility.
Yeah, more units are constantly streaming across the map. I think Hack has seen
on a
that
single
there's a window
gateway
here.
He's going to have to pull. He's going to have to pull probes.
Stalker's going to fall. Sentry's going to go down as well. A lot of these probes also going to be killed. And then Crank forced to micro for his life here, warping in Stalkers as quickly as he can. He should clean this up, but it does not come without some expensive losses.
Crank was 7-8 workers ahead. At the end of this exchange, we're almost even in the work count as he lost 8 probes. Well, Crank is still 4 ahead, but it's a very important scout that Hack got done. Hack knew about his robotics bay, and he also knew that this is way quicker than it normally would be. If this would be a standard 1-gate into Robo, 2 additional gates, maybe a Forge at Twilight and then a Robo, or just Forge and then a Robo, it wouldn't have been this quick. So just an excellent opening here for Hack.
Beyond that, he just did so much damage. He's whittled away at the unit count of Crank. It allows him to continue to be aggressive because Crank hasn't been able to just keep adding to that massive units. His first Colossus will ultimately be what says no more aggression for Hack, but it's still not quite out.
But there should be a photon overcharge by now.
But if he can force that, it means he can start dropping soon.
He's going to have to drop a force field, maybe? He will be able to get close. Yeah.
Sentry goes down, Stalker goes down, and another great little attack. These Marauders are going to jump out of there. And Hack continues to be super effective against Crank. 65 supply to 65 supply. Medevac production has begun.
Crank wiping in 6 gates now. He also stopped probe production, so this is the magic number that he wants to make to march across the map. He's like, hey, I just saw Hero do this against you on Whirlwind. It went pretty well, but back then we shouldn't forget that Hack opened very differently. It was command center first, into a Rex, into another command center, so his stack, his starport was all much later, and he was never able to deal the economic damage that he was able to deal this game. It is not impossible for Crank to make this work, but it's going to be so hard. I actually would recommend him not to go with this. After the start that he had and the amount of sentries that he lost, because the amount of force fields are going to be really important too, so he's going to have way less, because sentries get it up less energy. I think this will be very hard, but then again, if Hack makes one mistake with his Vikings, if he one time overcommits and he's actually not able to kill the Vikings, picking up this probe would be great though, because I believe that's the only probe, so now Crank's going to have to send another probe. Just he's making a prism.
That'll get it done. A couple of Marauders going to get caught out in the open here. That's a nice pickup for Crank. It's going to buy him a little bit of momentum.
But there are already 4 Vikings. I think by the time they actually start fighting, because Crank needs more than just this, there's going to be 6 to 8 Vikings. I cannot imagine that Hack won't be able to survive this.
He's going to just go right forward. Crank working on these bunkers before they even complete. This could be pretty key. SCV's going to get pulled off the line here. Crank perhaps finding the window he needs, but man, the Viking count is already approaching critical mass.
More stocks being wiped in. The pylon is so far. The moment the prism is here, then it gets a little more scary, because then Crank will finally be able to get real pressure on. That was an excellent volley here by Hack, being able to unleash a full volley and barely take any damage. He's of course going to be able to repair these Vikings as well. Without Blink, it's going to be so hard. Crank is going to need a mistake from Hack. That's pretty much what it boils down to. Man, these Vikings are hammering away on these Colossus.
Doing some pretty serious work. Colossus, both of them falling down to nearly half health. Warp Prism also losing all of its shields.
Guardian Shield being activated. That's going to help out a little bit.
Here we go. Bio being stemmed forward. Vikings are going to focus down the Colossi. But Crank's got a lot of units here. Oh, man, but the Viking count is just way too high. Colossi not going to be able to stick around. Warp Prism should also go down. It will fall, and just like that, Crank has got to hightail it out of here.
Yep. You know, if he just survives now and like he doesn't lose his entire army, I'm not sure how many sentries he has left. Oh, barely any. And this Sin-By army is so quick. He's going to try to reinforce, but there's just not enough DPS in his Protoss army, and Hack is going to be able to clean up every single unit.
Just brutal, man. SCVs continuing to come forward. Vikings are going to get landed, and Crank is in a full retreat. He's got 1,000 minerals, but no gas. Can't really build anything except Zealots. And the Hack will continue to give chase.
Hack did lose a lot of SUVs in the long run. He fell down to 25. That's why Crank was able to survive with all those gateway units and then get a Colossus out. But he also lost his mothership core. Man, these SUVs, they never want to work again.
Yeah, man. They are...
they're like fighting is way more
to
fun.
Disassemble some probes. Vikings will kill this last
low HP army though.
Big warp in. Could this happen? Could Crank hold? It's going to be so tough. Vikings landing once more. Zealots beginning to melt away. Medevacs are out of energy, so this army cannot be healed, but it just might not even matter.
Maybe with another Colossus and one more big warp, and Crank still has 1,000 minerals, but it is going to be very hard. Here come all the units, but actually Hack's army is standing on top of it, picking up 4 or 5 stalkers immediately. Man, that was brilliant.
That's gonna do it, Kev. The Colossus is